Chapter 15. Lev. Lev is convinced his heart will explode in his chest. It will explode, and he will die right here in a school hallway. Slipping out of the bathroom once the bell rang had been nerve-wracking. He'd unlocked his stall door and had kept his hand on the handle for 10 minutes, waiting for the electronic buzz of the bell to mask the sound of its opening. Then he'd had to make it to the bathroom entrance without the others hearing his brand-new sneakers squeaking on the floor. Why did they call them sneakers if it was so hard to sneak in them? He couldn't open that squealing door, then walk out by himself. It would be too conspicuous. So he waited until a bathroom-bound girl did it for him. Since the bell had just rung, he only had to wait a few seconds. She pulled open the door and pushed his way past her, hoping she didn't say anything that would give him away. If she commented about a boy being in the girl's bathroom, Connor and Risa would know. "Next time, wear a dress," the girl said to him as he hurried away, and her friend laughed. Was that enough to alert Connor and Risa to his escape? He hadn't turned back to find out. He'd just pressed forward. Now he's lost in the hallways of the huge high school, his heart threatening to detonate at any second. A wild mob of kids hurrying to their next class surround him, bump him, disorient him. Most of the kids here are bigger than Lev, imposing, intimidating. This is how he's always imagined high school, a dangerous place full of mystery and violent kids. He had never worried about it because he'd always known he would never have to go. In fact, he only had to worry about getting partway through 8th grade. "Excuse me, can you tell me where the office is?" he asks one of the slower-moving students. The kid looks down at him as if Lev were from Mars. "How could you not know that?" and just walks away shaking his head. Another kinder kid points him in the right direction. Lev knows that things must be put back on track. This is the best place to do it, a school. If there are any secret plans to kill Connor and Risa, it can't happen here with so many kids around. And if he does this right, it won't happen at all. If he does it right, all 3 of them will be safely on their way to their unwinding, as it ought to be. As it was ordained to be. The thought of it still frightens him, but these days of not knowing what the next hour will bring, that is truly terrifying. Being torn from his purpose was the most unnerving thing that had ever happened to Lev. But now he understands why God let it happen. It's a lesson. It's to show Lev what happens to children who shirk their destiny. They become lost in every possible way. He enters the school's main office and stands at the counter waiting to be noticed, but the secretary is too busy shuffling papers. "Excuse me." Finally she looks up. "Can I help you, dear?" He clears his throat. "My name is Levi Calder, and I've been kidnapped by 2 runaway unwinds." The woman, who wasn't really paying attention before, suddenly focused her attention entirely on him. "What did you say?" "I was kidnapped. We were hiding in the bathroom, but I got away. They're still there. They've got a baby, too." The woman stands up and calls out, her voice shaky, like she's looking at a ghost. She calls in the principal, and the principal calls in a security guard. A minute later, Lev sits in the nurse's office with the nurse doting on him like he's got a fever. "Don't you worry," she says. "Whatever happened to you, it's all over now." From here in the nurse's office, Lev has no way of knowing if they captured Connor and Risa. He hopes that if they have, they don't bring them here. The thought of having to face them makes him feel ashamed. Doing the right thing shouldn't make you feel ashamed. "The police have been called. Everything's being taken care of," the nurse tells him. "You'll be going home soon." "I'm not going home," he tells her. The nurse looks at him strangely and he decides not to go into it. "Never mind. Can I call my parents?" She looks at him incredulous. "You mean no one's done that for you?" She looks at the school's phone in the corner, then fumbles for the cell phone in her pocket instead. "You call and let them know you're okay and talk as long as you like." She looks at him for a moment, then decides to give him his privacy, stepping out of the room. "I'll be right here if you need me." Lev begins to dial, but stops himself. It's not his parents he wants to talk to. He erases the numbers and keys in a different one, hesitates for a moment, then hits the send button. It's picked up on the second ring. "Hello? Pastor Dan?" There's only a split second of dead air, then recognition. "Dear God, Lev? Lev, is that you? Where are you?" "I don't know. Some school. Listen, you have to tell my parents to stop the police. I don't want them killed." "Lev, slow down. Are you all right?" "They kidnapped me, but they didn't hurt me, so I don't want to hurt them. Tell my father to call off the police." "I don't know what you're talking about. We never told the police." Lev is not expecting to hear this. "You never... What?" "Your parents were going to. They were going to make a whole big deal about it, but I convinced them not to. I convinced them that your being kidnapped was somehow God's will. Lev starts shaking his head like he can't shake the thought away. But why would you do that? Now Pastor Dan starts to sound desperate. Lev, listen to me. Listen carefully. No one else knows you're gone. As far as anyone else knows, you've been tithed, and people don't ask questions about children who are tithed. Do you understand what I'm telling you? But I want to be tithed. I need to be. You have to call my parents and tell them. You have to get me to harvest camp. Now Pastor Dan sounds angry. Don't make me do that. Please don't make me do that. It's as if he's fighting a battle, but somehow it's not Lev he's battling. It's so far from Lev's image of Pastor Dan, he can't believe it's the same person he's known all these years. It's like an imposter has stolen the pastor's voice, but none of his convictions. Don't you see, Lev? You can save yourself. You can be anyone you want now. And all at once the truth comes to Lev. Pastor Dan wasn't telling him to run away from the kidnapper that day. He was telling Lev to run away from him, from his parents, from his tithing. After all of his sermons and lectures, after all that talk year after year about Lev's holy duty, it had all been a sham. Lev was born to be tithed, and the man who convinced him this was a glorious and honorable fate doesn't believe it. Lev, are you there? He's there, but he doesn't want to be. He doesn't want to answer this man who led him to a cliff only to turn away at the last minute. Now Lev's emotions spin like a wheel of fortune. One moment he's furious, the next relieved. One instant he's filled with terror so extreme he can smell it like acid in his nostrils, and the next there's a spike of joy, like what he used to feel when he was swung away and heard the crack of a bat against a ball. He is the ball now, soaring away. His life has been like a ballpark, hasn't it? All lines, structure, and rules, never changing. But now he's been hit over the wall into unknown territory. Lev, says Pastor Dan, you're scaring me. Talk to me. Lev takes a slow, deep breath, then says, Goodbye, sir. Then he hangs up without another word. Lev sees police cars arrive outside. Connor and Risa will soon be caught, if they haven't been caught already. The nurse is no longer standing at the door. She's chiding the principal for how he's handling the situation. Why didn't you call the boys' parents? Why haven't you put the school in lockdown? Lev knows what he has to do. It's something wrong. It's something bad. But suddenly he doesn't care. He slips out of the office right behind the nurses' and principal's backs and goes out into the hallway. It only takes a second to find what he's looking for. He reaches for the little box on the wall. I am lost in every possible way. Then, feeling the coldness of the steel against his fingertips, he pulls the fire alarm.